to Mom quick. He turned back. Wherever his head went, I started taking him. It turns out that you find really quickly, they have a pattern. And then they want to go over, they want to bump into walls. They want to bump into this big hanging drape. They want to touch a glass. I'll even let glasses fall and break, because you want to feel what's the shape of it. You can't move your hands, but you just want to get there. And then after doing this about 3 times, you can feel in their muscles where they're telling you to go. They tell you to lift me up 1 inch, lower me 1 inch, and swirl me around. Go faster. They'll go like this in the air. And so I called it the flying tour. I would take my kid on these flying tours. He'd run me outside the house and over to the shed, and we'd go out to the tennis courts, and then we'd come back and up the stairs. Eventually, he'd scope out the whole house. He'd map. So he had legs before he would have otherwise. But it was a lot of work. I'll tell you, it's hard. I was in a lot better shape. I was skinny then.
Oh, you think so creatively, and you can tell that you really passed that along. It seems fun.
Well, I think the worst thing is if you had ideas in your head of here's how you do something, here's how you raise a child. That's worse than trying to think of your own. What would be a creative thing? What would be something fun?
Okay, don't go away. Not done yet. In a moment, the cha-cha-cha, the mambo, which one? The Woz on Dancing with the Stars, and a lot of his famous pranks, too. We're doing it two-step with Steve Wozniak today. He made a splash last year on Dancing with the Stars, an experience he said almost didn't happen.
How could it happen to a technology nerd, basically, to ever be on a show like that? And it turns out that one of the talent producers to get the talent, her husband loved Macintoshes. He loved technology. He had friends at ABC that did, and she gives him a pick every season. So he picked me.
Boy, you had an in. You had an in. Did you enjoy that? You said you really had fun on the show.
It was the most fun of my life, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it about you that appealed to you?
And I don't know. Probably just having accomplished something that I never possibly could have imagined doing. And
what was the reaction from people here in Silicon Valley?
The reaction was outstanding. You know what? That helped a lot. It was almost like when we started Apple Computer, we had so much good press behind us, good statements, because we weren't competing with existing companies. It was brand new. And the press here just gave glowing stories, you know, reporters saying, well, I'm going to be for Steve. Even the Roadshow guy did a column that wasn't on cars. It was on, you know, Mr. Wozniak dancing.
And people were really rooting for you,
and they were rooting for me. And in San Francisco, and I know that the ABC ratings doubled for that season that I was on. Here in San Francisco. Here in San Francisco.
Okay,
First time ever, #1 in prime time. So that was a big deal, but I don't think it's the same now that I'm gone.
Oh, well, that's not the same, of course, now that you're gone at all. Tell me about, I've heard that people say that you're a big prankster, so I could see how being on Dancing with the Stars would be right up your alley. You seem to have this philosophy of life that you just want to go out and soak it in as much as you can.
Well, I had an early philosophy. I had an early start of being a good known prankster in school and coming up with some really good thinking ones. You know, it's part of your creative. You feel that you did something creative when you think of something other people aren't figuring out what you're doing. And I did some good funny ones, and it makes you laugh. So I came up with a philosophy that when you work, you should include a lot of your humor in it. Just the jokes that you tell to your workmates. You know, if you were in a place, if I was in a place and you had to work all day and you could never even joke with a workmate, I'd go crazy.
Boring.
Yeah, it's not me. It's just not me.
Quickly, I want to hear from you why you went back to school. Given everything that you had accomplished, why would you go back to UC Berkeley to get a degree?
It was what I talked about earlier. After Apple was hugely successful and I would be in a new role in life, I thought, you know, I actually had a plane crash. When I came out of amnesia, I called up Steve and said, I'm going to go back and get my degree because, you know, that's something I would have done if there was no Apple. I wanted to still be the same person I was. I knew who I was inside. I knew, you know, and I wanted to be able to tell my kids someday what college I went to like my parents told me. The fact that I'd been hired as an engineer by Hewlett-Packard, designing the greatest products in the world of the time, even without a college degree, was just amazing. It was amazing. It was lucky, but it was never my intent not to have one. And I wasn't a poor student. I didn't drop out. So I just went back under a fake name.
Rocky Clark?
Rocky Raccoon Clark, because I would have been recognized. I didn't want to be recognized as Steve Wozniak. Right. Everybody would think I'm going to get an A+ in my computer classes, you know.
Did you?
No. So I was Rocky Raccoon Clark, and that's what it says on my Berkeley diploma.
What haven't you done that you would still like to do? What haven't you done yet?
I haven't gotten 750,000 on Game Boy Tetris.
Oh.
That's my goal. I've gotten 702,000. I don't have any, let's see, what haven't I done? I haven't had grandchildren. I mean, that's pretty much, I'm at that phase. It's not too much like I think. There's real specific things I want to do. When they come to you, you recognize them there on the spot. But to visualize them very far in the future, no. I used to have dreams, and those dreams, I'd like to do this someday. Sometimes 5 years later, you wind up doing those sort of things.
What advice
But I've done more than I ever could have expected in life. I've had 10 lives.
Yeah. What advice would you give to that next Woz that's out there about believing in themselves and their capabilities, and what would you say to them?
The main thing is, don't necessarily, other people don't have to agree with you. That's probably the simplest one. You can have your ideas, they can have ideas that are different, and you don't have to argue. You just walk away and believe in your own brain. Your brain is calculated the right way to do something, to live life, the right way to build a certain product, and do it, and really do it your own way when you get the chance. Also, it's not too bad to take a job doing somebody else's job for parts of your life. It's like school. It's a holding place. And while you're there, you still have time on your own that you could be doing stuff that maybe you really want to do in life that might be valuable, that might be your great company that you start someday. It might be the new work you get into, but you have to give up a lot of your time. You have to give up a lot of life. Don't party too much.
Thank you. I want to ride on that segue. Thanks so much for being with us. We're so lucky to have you in the Bay Area. We'll be right back. Well, we want to thank Steve Wozniak, the Woz, for joining us today, giving us his thoughts on education. It was great to have him. And we'd like to hear your thoughts as well. Send us an email at feedback@nbcclassaction.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.